First of all, I'm Jim Hohmann. I'm CEO of FBL Financial Group. I've been here for coming on 2 years this month, and I got my start in the business back in 1978. So it's been quite a few years now. Ready to graduate from college, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I had no particular plan about what I was going to do. I was familiar with what an actuary was, and I was a math major in college, so I at least had that in the back of my mind. I happened to notice in the daily newspaper at school that there was a part-time position at an insurance company where they were looking for an actuarial student to come in. It was at Combined Insurance, which eventually became part of Aon Corporation. As it got closer to my graduation, they asked to explore whether I'd want to stay on full-time, and I did. So I stayed on full-time and started as an actuary at Combined Insurance, a student actuary as opposed to an actuarial student, and started down the path of actuarial work. I eventually got into consulting, and when I got into consulting, I started to really get more and more of a scan of the environment. I worked for probably 30, 40 different companies in a year. And I had an interesting thing happen to me along the way, in that the firm I was working for thought it would be interesting to do something where they would have one of the actuarial partners in the firm go to a leading business school, get an MBA, and in an experimental sense see what happened. And I was offered that opportunity, so I ended up going to University of Chicago for my MBA. And when I finished that, it really did change my perspective on the work I was doing. It became less technical and more strategic. Eventually moved out of consulting into industry. My positions became progressively more and more strategic and more business leadership oriented, and moved into a series of positions where I was leading either business units or companies, and eventually am now here at FBL Financial Group. Some people would probably be surprised to know that a few years back I used to play hockey recreationally. My older son had been playing hockey as a kid in some of these house leagues, and as I would be standing there watching these games, when I was a kid I used to play a little hockey, and I kind of got the itch to maybe do that again, and I ended up joining what can only be described as an old man recreational league, and so I started to play a little bit of hockey. What I was finding is that after I would play hockey on typically a Sunday night, that on Monday my knee would swell, and the doctor said, you know, you really need to cut this out. So people probably wouldn't be aware that I used to play hockey recreationally.